All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do Legends of the DC Universe, issue number 2 from DC Comics. Painted cover by Glen Orbik, if I'm saying that correctly. So yeah, we're going to continue with this, I think, pretty cool, typical, cool superhero story. So let's dive in. I did a review on my channel last month. You can check it out. Subscribe and all the YouTube jazz. Hint, hint. So we see Lois here. By the way, Val Semeiks and Jason Robinson, writer, penciler, Paul Neary, inker, etc., etc. Glen Orbik, I was right. So she's doing a piece of Lex Luthor and his tower, and it seems that the title Mad Science is actually correct because Lex has been plagued by a lot of problems lately. He's having financial trouble, stocks are dropping, he's being very violent lately, and he says, well, this fool dared to tell me he had no idea who this saboteur is. So Lexcorp is being sabotaged, some things go wrong, right? They're getting hits with, viruses and other things that don't go really well. So he says, hey, do you know guys who did it? Do you want to figure it out? And of course they don't say. And then we have head of security called Drake. It's a little bit weird, right? Because he's just smoking cigarettes and he is the one talking, although it's Lex that is talking, right? Okay, doesn't matter. He says, my head of security, you claim you know the streets. Why aren't you on then hunting? So he says, well, I get you the answers. These scared suits can't, right? So Lois typing all these things all the malfunctions, all the things that goes wrong, right? Well, Superman is dealing with troubles in Metropolis. So there's some kind of a construction droid. It's going haywire. And he says malfunctioned. There's a theme here, right? But then Superman, of course, saves the day. Well, the bank is being robbed by a guy called Madness. His powers is, everyone goes around, around him goes mad, right? Robbing banks. And when he goes away, they fall like puppets. Looks great, by the way. I love the art. Colors are nice too, deep blues and reds. So he's meeting up with Lois, right? He says, do you know why the machine went haywire, Lois? What kind of question is that? How does she know? Anyway, but she said, I did some digging, but I uncovered Lexcorp had a hand in it, right? And it seems that some kind of a foreign manufacturers was involved in creating this construction droid, but Lexcorp supplied its computer software. So what goes on is that they think it's all related because it seems that there was robberies, there was disasters, robberies at Star Labs, as Galaxo and Tyler Pharmaceuticals, both having research facilities in the city. Also, talking about, the creature Madness is going on a rampage or stealing, robbing banks exactly when all these things went wrong and Superman needs to save the day. So Lois thinks this is all connected somehow, but she can't figure it out yet. So, but then Superman says, hey, I got to go because I have an appointment with, what's his name? Drake? That's his name? Drake. So Drake went, had a little bit of a tanglement in the first issue with Superman. So they didn't hit off really well. And you see these guys training. And he says, hey, thank you, Superman, for coming. And Superman says, okay, why I'm here? Well, he likes to smoke a lot. And remember smoking in comics, guys? You don't see that anymore. Not that I know of, anyway. So he says there are some people that are sabotaging and that can hurt us both because he says the sabotage is widespread. Some of it's computer sabotage. The project's malfunction stem from a petri dish full of computer viruses that Lexcorp Systems has been laced with for the last 2 months. There's also been orders given covertly via email made to look like they come from Luthor himself The orders make it so things aren't done which Lexcorp needs done to maintain its dominance. Or things are done that shouldn't be to make Lexcorp look bad. So who could implement this? So Drake says someone high up the ladder of command. So he has some usual suspects. We have Edward Kal-El, senior VP, Lexcorp, Tom Hewitt, another VP. We have this guy called Lawrence, who's been beaten by Lex, right? But he isn't, going somewhere else, probably the hospital. And then we have Dolores Winter, who is a actress, but also Luther's latest squeeze. So why come to me? You boiled it down to two suspects. Yeah, but what if I make my accusations and Luther doesn't agree, or I'm wrong and I have someone important with the company disciplined, and then the sabotage continues? That kind of mistake could get me disciplined too. Yeah, okay, it's pretty smart. I like that, right? So he proposes some kind of a collaboration between him and Lexcorp. He says, you and your abilities, I could do worse than come to you. You've been real busy keeping the city from destroying itself. We could both benefit from putting an end to this insanity. All right, so Superman agrees with that. He said, were you aware that Madness, the supervillain, was using the malfunction disasters as a diversion for his own crimes? You think he's involved? I'm not certain at this point, but I think it's likely. So then he gets some kind of a call, and he's, says, hey, what's going on? And then he talks to Superman. Lois Lane is in trouble. All right, so Superman is using super speed because Lois is in trouble and her apartment is being trashed by these goons. And he says, where is Wilde's photo? Now, Wilde is the scientist from issue number 1. He's been killed, probably, and his wife was killed. He was doing some kind of a research, and then Luther's goons come to him, and he says, hey, I want to have the patent to your, your science, of what you have been written. He says no, and then, S hits the fan. I cannot say the word because YouTube algorithms. And then, the apartment blew up, right? In the last year, you could check it out. And so it seems that these guys want the photo because it seems before the Wildes, was getting himself killed or sacrificed, he gave a photo to Lois Lane. So this guy says, you're going to give it to me or else. Well, Superman comes in, it beats them. So Superman goes to Drake, and he says, I swear I had nothing to do with this. Miss Luther assures me he had nothing to do with the order either. In fact, neither of us knew about the existence of the photo. So it seems that the email that was sent to these goons was all falsified, because of all the, the things that go wrong in Lexcorp lately, right? So Superman uses his, X-ray vision, and he says, there's a microdot. It's buried between the layers of the photo paper. Can you read it? No problem. It begins saying the kind of thing you see in movies all the time. If you're reading this, then I'm dead. So he says, is he dead? His lab exploded and his wife, as well as 2 men, were all killed. My men, they were sent to reason with Wilde. Lexcorp wanted in on Wilde's research. Reason with him? Well, we're the company that will reason with anybody. So Superman says, it goes on to explain that research what he was developing was a device called U.L.T.R.A. He called it U.L.T.R.A. Which stands for Underlight Transmittive Radiation Analyzer. That was his name for the electrical field he was able to isolate within the human form. Underlight? That is the light made visible by the device emanating from the body, which generated the electrical field. It goes on to say that he was other than a scientist. He called it the human soul. So Lois says, then the underlight he was referring to must be ectoplasm. What is this? Ghostbusters? Psychic energy. Spiritualistic mediums can claim they can see it. Whatever, says Drake. Wilde says he thought at first his device could only isolate his electrical field for study and hopefully cure diseases. Parkinson's disease. So that is the reason why Lexcorp was reaching out to him, working with them, buying his patent or whatever. Superman says, but Wilde discovered also his device could draw the field from one body and transfer to another, and the person's thoughts and consciousness along with it. Then he was nuts. He honestly thought he could move one soul from one body to another. Suddenly we're in a 30s horror movie. So it could be like a possession. 2 souls in one body. Superman explains then that if one undergoes the underlying transformation, the other soul, there can be only one soul in one body. The other one would be destroyed. Like death? Wilde had a term for anyone who has this process done to them. The soul transferred to another body, U.L.T.R.A Humanite. So long-time readers know that U.L.T.R.A Humanite is a long-time Justice League of America foe. So yeah, great. So what? I think this tells us who Lexcorp's saboteur is. Morgan Wilde himself. So the scientist that blew himself up is the U.L.T.R.A Humanite, probably? Think about it. He didn't die in a blast. Whatever was found was his body, sure, but his soul. He found some way to remove his soul and transfer it to somebody else's body. One of your suspects within the Lexcorp upper echelon, maybe. Yeah. All right. So he says, no, this is crazy. It's like the science fiction books I read as a kid. But then Superman says something logical. Look around you, Drake. Look at me. Look at the world. Full of superhumans, aliens, and monsters. It's all changing. The world has gone crazy. Science fiction is now a science fact. It's just another example. So I think we should wait, not make too many accusations till we find where the lab is. Then we get the answers. But then Superman says, hey, there's a bullet train. I need to go. And Drake says, I think Lexcorp helped build the bullet train. Superman's got again. Helping saving the day while madness is reigning supreme. Well, that's probably a wild world. But, this looks great. Lois says, yet in another part of the city, more scientific equipment was stolen. The 3 events happening at the same time. The bullet train, madness robbing banks, and more science stuff stolen. One time on cue. All right. So Drake confronts Kal-El and he says, you're the saboteur. You're the one, and it makes you the U.L.T.R.A Humanite too. You're Morgan Wilde within the body of Edward Kal-El. How did you find out? Superman, of course. So why did you do it, Wilde? Why all of it? Lexcorp killed my wife. I would have killed me if my device hadn't seized my lights just in time. Now I intended to take everything from Lexcorp. Louvre will be selling pencils on the street when I finish this. And I will finish this. Send me to jail for now, but I'll return. And then he says, well, that's not how we do things here at Lexcorp. He had a gun, Superman. He struggled. It went off. I wish he was alive so we could question him. But that's impossible now. The U.L.T.R.A Humanite is dead. I don't believe that for a second. But at least it's to the next issue. I like that. This is a murder mystery. Yeah, somewhat. I believe he jumped from, this one. I believe Drake is now the U.L.T.R.A Humanite. It's a little bit on the nose, and it's fun. But the whole madness thing going on and scientific equipment disappearing. I don't know. It's just we're gonna find out in the next issue. I love this. I like this. I like this. I mean, it's a fun superhero story. I like that, and it's fun to see U.L.T.R.A Humanite again. So, guys, let me know in the comments what you think about it. I'll see you, of course, next time. Bye bye.